the show, built by the Barndo Co. and brought to you by our friend Tony Pope. Tony Pope, State Farm, TonyPope.com. Thanks to Alex Jones joining us in hour one. Thanks to Mad Dog. And always thanks to John Strickland. He's a big guy, so it's hard to squeeze him through a tight spot. But I was in one this morning, and he wiggled his way in here. Thanks, brother.
Yes, sir. No problem. Always enjoy being on.
Real quick here on the happy birthday list. Happy birthday, Jack Nicklaus. He is 85 years old today. Jack Nicklaus, 85 years old today. All right. Nicklaus, not Nicholson. Jack Nicklaus, like the golfer. And John, I got a question for you. It's also Gina Davis's birthday. She's 44 plus 25. So, wow, that can't be. Gina Davis is 69 years old. All right. What do you like more? A League of Their Own Gina Davis or Thelma and Louise Gina Davis?
I got to go League of Their Own.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't see her as a killer,
Yeah. I think it's just more of the sports guy in me.
Yeah, I'm with you. A League of Their Own is a jam of a movie.
Oh, it's a great movie.
It's killer. Tom Hanks is good in that movie. Every time you talk about Tom Hanks, I feel like A League of Their Own always gets forgotten about. And then when you bring up how good he was, everybody's like, oh, yeah, man, he was awesome in that movie.
Yeah, no, I thought he did a good job. I mean, there's no crying in baseball.
I use that line all the time. I wanted so bad to use it on the first day of practice last year for T-ball for one of my daughters. Thought that might be a little harsh for my 5-year-old.
Yeah, probably a little harsh for that age.
She didn't want to play. Poor girl. All right. Well, John, we're going to run the gamut, man. We got a lot of football to talk about, so we'll dive into it here. Last night, the season wrapped and Ohio State holds on to win 34-23. They win the national championship. They took hold of the game, obviously, in the second quarter. They were pretty much unstoppable. I thought the Notre Dame defense would have a better performance. But at the same time, Ohio State blocked well. Will Howard has been on fire, and he was once again. They had the most talented roster in college football this year. At times, you kind of wondered where they were as a group, but ultimately they ended up on top. And let's just be honest, dude, the play call to go to Jeremiah Smith on third down, I thought was absolutely outstanding. What'd you think about that?
I mean, that was the game right there. I mean, huge play. I mean, you put that guy out there one-on-one, and the corner was kind of playing soft on him. I mean, pretty easy decision, but just a heck of a play call to be able to pull that off to seal the game. Give it to Notre Dame, though. I'll tell you, the second half, their defense stepped up and played much, much better than they did the first half. I mean, the first half, it was just like, oh, man. I guess the Texas-Ohio State game was a championship game last week because that was a hell of a game. But Ohio State, I mean, Notre Dame came back second half. Their defense played well. The offense was finally able to go up and down the field, and they made it a fun game there at the end.
Yeah, that was more of that Notre Dame spirit that we've been seeing for a while, really. Marcus Freeman, you watch him on the sideline, you can see where that grit comes from. He's got it. There's no question. Yeah, I want to ask you about, I mean, the game is what it is. Ohio State, again, I picked based on my heart, but truthfully, Ohio State probably was going to win the game, and of course they did. I want to ask you about the timing of it, because as we enter every year, this is what we have until August, the end of August, when the games start. We have a bunch of manufactured conversations about conference realignment and the playoffs and NIL and the portal and all. We're going to have the same crap again for the next 7 or 8 months. You know it, and I know it. One of the central conversations around the CFP itself is that whether it goes to 14 teams, whether it goes to 16 teams, John, and then how do they reseed this thing? Because I think most people agree, unless you're the commissioner of one of the conferences that benefited from this, most everybody else agrees that the seeding probably needs to be restructured. So we're going to hear a lot of that. Maybe I'm on an island here, but I felt no personal hype around this game. And these are two of the iconic brands in the sport, right, Strick? You're talking about Ohio State, Notre Dame, dude. I mean, imagine if that was, no disrespect to the school that we love, but imagine if that was South Carolina and Oklahoma State. You'd have a lot of people that just really probably didn't care. I felt like now that it's all over and the dust has settled, I felt like the playoffs were too long, John. I still can't figure out for the life of me, and I hear the TV rating stuff and I get it, but I'm not convinced that they won't be good on a Saturday either. Why the national championship continues to be played on a Monday night. Last night it fell on Martin Luther King Day, and dude, it fell on Inauguration Day. And everybody can sit here and say all they want to. Oh, I wasn't paying attention to that. That's bull. Everybody was paying attention to something that had to do with the inauguration, whether you agree with the president or disagree or whatever. It's still Inauguration Day. That's not going to be the case every year. It's every 4 years, and I know that. But you run the risk of this happening every 4 years if you stay on this timeline, John. So I'm saying all this background to get your thoughts and opinion on the length of the CFP and what adjustments you think could be made to improve it and keep the momentum, keep the hype train, people excited to watch the ball games.
Yeah, so I don't mind like the spread outness of it every 10 days. I don't mind that. I just think they need to bring it back a whole entire week. I think you got to start those first round games the week before, New Year's Eve instead of playing them on, right around that time. I think they need to be done maybe, a couple days before Christmas or something like that. Start it then, and then let the home games be, even earlier. I don't remember exactly what they were this year, but it was what 20, 29, 30 days, right? 29, 30 days, 30 days, somewhere right in there.
You talking about the length of the playoff?
From the start to the end, yeah.
30 days.
So I think maybe 2 weeks, a week or two, maybe 10 days, 14 days after the conference championship games, you go ahead and get it started. Because I think they waited, 3 weeks? So I would do it 2 weeks after the conference championship games. And that way it kind of moves it back some. But truthfully, I did not mind it. I mean, I was happy to sit down and watch a national championship game last night. So I don't know. I think there's got to be some improvements, like a Boise State getting a bye. Nah, they don't. They didn't deserve that. Teams like that getting a bye. They got to fix it to where you're really getting the best teams that are going to have a bye. As far as 16 teams, I'm all in favor of it. Those first round games being at home, and I don't know, does anybody really deserve a bye? How about let's just start playing games, right?
Well, I mean, the teams that did get a bye didn't bode well for them.
No, not at all.
All right, so you had I'm kind of linking this together here because this is one of I just mentioned you get 7-8 months of this, so there's going to be things that come up, and you're like, these people, they actually have a voice. How is that possible? The commissioner of the ACC mentions a couple of days ago that basically this is a way for them to get more teams in. Well, maybe if you win the regular season, you don't play in the conference championship game. We take teams 2 and 3 and we play them in the conference championship game, which I think is the dumbest thing I've probably ever heard in my entire life. You're playing for a championship. 2, fine, I get it. But 3, they didn't. The 3 doesn't get into a championship game. There's only 2 teams that can play for it. So it brings into the question, and I would hate to see this, but it does bring into question if you expand the playoffs and you feel like you need to squeeze it in before the NFL really takes off in the postseason, before you get too far down the road, before you interfere with politics and holidays. How necessary are conference championship games?
I don't want to see conference championship games go away. I love the SEC championship. I don't think there's anything better in college football than the SEC championship. So I would hate to see that go away. I think since 1992, the SEC championship game has always been the best college football game of every football season, just in my opinion. So I want to see them stay. I don't think, honestly, I don't think you should be penalized for playing in those games, honestly, unless you already have, 3 losses and then you lose that, then yeah, you probably shouldn't make the playoffs as a four loss team. But I don't know. I love the conference championship games. It's always a fun weekend. That weekend after Thanksgiving, to have championship games. I mean, I just think it's kind of come a tradition, and I don't want to see those go anywhere. I do think though. I think the playoffs started the weekend before Christmas. Christmas was on a Wednesday this past year, and they started that
21st.
weekend. But yeah, so I mean, maybe so that's basically. I think the games were played that first weekend in December. I don't know how they can do it. I think you got to move it up a little bit.
Yeah, if you had, just going off of this year's, if you had 16 on the 20, let's just say you had it on the 21st, 16, and then the 28th you had 8, and then basically New Year's or right after New Year's you had your final 4, and then the following week you had the national championship. But to your point a minute ago, if you get to the national championship, I do think that these teams have earned the right to have a couple of extra days to prepare for it. I get that. So if you move it up the week before, the 14th, the 21st, the 28th, then you're kind of in line with what we're talking about.
Yeah, I like that. I like that better. I think that works out better because basically that gives you, 10 to 12 days after your conference title game, or if you didn't play in the conference title game, because some of them didn't. So if that's how it works out, then I think that would be good too. So I mean, I think that's plenty of time. 12 days, 10 to 12 days after a conference title game, and then you just spread it out every 10 days. I mean, 10 days is a good amount of time to recover and prepare for a game. So that way you probably have that national championship game, last weekend. But obviously, the NFL playoffs are always on all day Saturday and all day Sunday during that time of the year too. So I know they don't want to compete with it. So I understand that's why Mondays kind of get always pushed off to where it's at.
I thought JC, because I am all in for having a Saturday or even a Friday night. Monday it's just to me is a debacle. But I really liked what JC said about a week or two ago. He mentioned, hey, play the NFL games, because if the NFL games are Saturday, Sunday, the wild card weekend, if that's when you're doing it, play the NFL games in the afternoon, and then play the national championship that night, or play the national championship that day, and then play the wild card games that evening at 5 and 8 o'clock or whatever it is. There's a way to do it, and I don't know if the NFL even cares. It might be like, this is our day, so we don't really care what you're doing. But it's long been tradition that Saturday, I mean, it's not, the NFL only moved to Saturdays a few years back. It's not like they've been doing this for decades. Saturday has long been college football's day. You'd like to think these two could work together and maybe work out a plan that would promote both on the same day. I don't know. I just think that'd be good, but Nobody asked me.
Maybe if you can get a lunchtime game in the NFL, because typically if you can get a lunchtime game and then an afternoon NFL game, because there's typically that's how it works on Wild Card Sunday, which was last weekend. So you get 2 on Saturday, you get 2 on Sunday. So if they can move that up, and then Saturday night you have a college football national championship game. Sounds like a pretty good day of football to me.
Yeah, and you could blend the pregame coverage and all that. I mean, ESPN's really good about doing that. I mean, you think about when they do the NFL draft and they have College Game Day now live for the NFL draft, and Herb Street and all those guys who've actually covered the college guys throughout their careers are able to get on there and give you the version that they have. And then you've got the scouts and the Kuipers of the world or whatever. They blend all that stuff together when it comes to the draft. I'm not so sure they couldn't do this for the national championship game. I think it'd be great, to be honest. And if you're ESPN, why would you not want that or throw that on ABC all day? Because I get how the marketing, like we're just thinking about the game. Well, they go out and sell this stuff, and you're selling a package is what you're doing. So it's not like you're just going to turn on the game and see Capital One. Capital One is beginning to get things all day long throughout coverage. Their spots and their dots and what they're presenting and all these types of things. That's where they get all of their money from. That's how they maximize the dollar when it comes to marketing. For anybody that wonders how that happens, there is a package when you sell these things. You're not just selling a ball game. So you're getting all sort, like Capital One Bowl Week, right? John, remember that? You played in Capital One Bowl Week. Capital One Bowl Week gets the naming rights to the week, and then they get the Orange Bowl, and then they get this, and they get that, and they get all this stuff in TV. It's all a combo of things. So like I get the other side that a lot of people probably don't. But for the sake of everybody, they can figure out how to make this work. I mean, it's 2025. We can be creative with it. So
for sure.
All right, John, we're going to step aside. We'll move this into the Gamecocks. We did have a lengthy conversation yesterday with Coach Beamer, and obviously, you got rankings and all that stuff that are coming out now, and we will tie that into the Gamecock football program in the next few months. Of Steve Spurrier used to call July Talkin season. I think Talkin season begins the day after the national championship game, if you ask me. And it's going to be that way until late August. John Strickland is in. It is 11:19, and snow is on the way. Don't go anywhere.
Sorry about that, guys.
Nope.
This snowy weather all through Houston over to New Orleans has one of my barges getting delayed loading and one not being able to offload in New Orleans at our refinery. So just good old problems.
Yeah, you've got, because I know you're down there all the time for work in that area. They're getting hammered down there.
Yeah, I looked on the cameras earlier this morning at our Houston terminal and our New Orleans refinery, and they're getting snowed on pretty good.
Ooh. Well, hopefully we do. We need some snow around here. It's been 7 years.
Yeah, I think we're going to get it.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that none of these guys actually, and I know a lot of the weather guys, at least around here, known Rob Fowler for 30 years probably, or more than that. None of these, none of them know. I mean, they're all giving their best guess, but nobody really knows what exactly is going to transpire.
Well, we're seeing what's going on over there, and it's just moving steadily across our way. I think we might. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm with you, man. Snow Angels coming your way. Real quick here, 2025 early Heisman Trophy odds are out also from betonline.ag. I gave you the odds earlier on the opening weekend. Arch Manning, shocker, 6-1 odds to win the Heisman Trophy next year. Garrett Nussmeier 9-1. Cade Klubnik is at 12-1, and Jeremiah Smith at 12-1 as well. And then there are a few at 16-1 odds. DJ Lagway out of Florida, Drew Alar, John Mateer, the new quarterback at Oklahoma, Nico Iamaleava, the quarterback at Tennessee, and Lenore Sellers, number 16, has 16-1 odds according to betonline.ag. Carson Beck and Julian Sayin at 18-1, Dante Moore at 20-1, Ryan Williams at 25-1 odds. So if you want to bet early on Lenore Sellers to win the Heisman Trophy next year, have at it. Those odds are already out. John, speaking of next year, obviously this is what everybody does when the season ends, right? They start giving you all their way too early stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But I did, I threw some of this at Alex Jones earlier. I did do some some homework here. In the modern era of college football, the Gamecocks have only opened the season ranked 8 times, and you were part of 25% of them. 2001 and 2002, beginning of the year under Coach Holtz, 21st. That 01 team, of course, finished 13th and 9-3 after the Outback Bowl win. And then going into the 02 season, y'all opened the season 22nd, and of course finished 5-7 and unranked. But that team was better than that. We all know it.
Yeah.
Since then, Spurrier 11, 12, and 13 started 12th, 9th, and 6th, and finished in that order, or in order 9th, 8th, and 4th. 2014, they started 9th, and Texas A&M. Yeah, Texas A&M put a quick halt to that. Prior to all this, the only other it happened twice. That's it. 1970, Paul Dietzel and the Gamecocks entered the year ranked 17th. They finished 4-6-1, and they were still in the ACC. And then in 1988, Joe Morrison and Carolina, they came in at 19 and finished 8-4, but they were unranked that season as well. Carolina will be ranked next year. But finishing the year ranked and entering the year ranked, that just it happened in 11, 12, 13, and 14. And it happened in 01, 02. And that's it. And now for the second time in 3 years, or the second time in 4 years, let's be fair, Shane Beamer has finished the season in the top 25. But we talked to Coach yesterday, and he mentioned, without saying names, some local. I think there was a local guy who wrote an article about, can this team compete in the new SEC? And then he said the same guy basically is like predicting them to go 10-2 next year, and it's funny how that works. And he had basically had to spend the whole offseason telling his team, don't pay attention to the outside world. You're not what these guys are 3-9, 4-8. Don't pay attention to that. You're better than that. You're better than that. The script is flipped real quick, John, in 6 months. Now he's got to spend the offseason telling them to, hey, don't listen to the outside world. Everybody's telling you how great you are. Just put your head down and go to work. You've been through this when you were playing for Lou Holtz. Everybody told you were bad one year, and everybody told you how great you were the next year. It's not easy, is it?
No, it's not. But you know what? The good teams, listen, as a player, you notice, okay? You see when you're ranked. I mean, even back before social media craze when I played, you see it, you heard about it. Everybody told you, pat you on the back, tell you how great you are and all that. It's just one of those things where you just kind of got to flush it and just focus on what's at hand. So the players know this. Sometimes some players can get caught up in the moment, but for the majority, it's just like, whatever. Let's just go play ball.
What is important though? What is it in the makeup of a football team or a football team structure without the coaching step? Because the best teams obviously are kind of self-coached. You don't need Shane Beamer and his staff running around trying to do all this stuff. So what is it about the makeup of a team that makes them capable of disregarding all that information and ignoring it to the best of their ability? Like, how do you do that?
It's all about the leadership at on your team. Older guys, keeping everybody straight. Everybody on a team always kind of looks to the quarterback. They just do. All right, because it's that one single position, like only one person on the field, and that guy is the commander of the offense, at least, but for the most part, the team. So it's all about that leadership from your quarterback, and you always usually have one leader there on the offensive line. There's usually always an older guy that's played a lot. That's kind of shows that leadership role, and then on defense, there's always a couple. So you need those guys who are strong-minded to just lead a team and keep a team together. I think that's really the key to success. And from everything I've seen and know about this football team and what we got coming back, I mean, you got a pretty level-headed team that seems to be very much together.
It's also interesting too, thinking about it from the perspective of Coach Beamer. Like, this is his first time going through this too as a head coach. I mean, he's seen it. Obviously, think about everybody's worked for. It's not like it's his first time being a part of something like this. He's been a part
Right.
of it. But being at the top of the pyramid now and having to, he's kind of got his way of doing things, certainly. I think, like yesterday we were talking about it, he seems to have the right attitude, just being honest, like not being anything more than that. Like, he seems to kind of have the right attitude. Like, hey, look, we just got to continue to keep our head down and stay pretty level headed about everything. But it's certainly something to talk about because he's never been the head coach of a team who's going to enter the year in the top 15 before.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it puts more pressure on you, right? Because all right, the expectations are this, so hey, we got to keep these expectations. When everybody was telling you were going to win 5 games, it was a hell of a lot easier, right? To
Mhm.
go out and just play free and coach freely and try and prove a point. But now you're going to be in the mix. You're going to be the talk during the off season. Hey, these guys 9, 10 wins, playoffs, all this stuff. So it's a little bit different than where we've been here over the past few years. So yeah, it's definitely going to be different. But just everything you hear Shane talk about, I think he'll handle it just fine.
You know what, man? I don't know how much you caught of him yesterday with us.
Yeah,
Eh,
I was able to catch a few bits and pieces.
did you hear the conversation about Bielema?
Oh yeah, I caught the very tail end.
You know, that's one of the things that I love about Shane is, I mean, I mean, John, you know, hundreds of college football coaches, head coaches, assistant coaches. Most of them are like, let me give a glazed over answer here, essentially saying I'm not talking about it. But oh, it didn't happen. He's got to move on. You worry about your team. He anytime he like stands up on a hill or on a rooftop and this is the ground I'm standing on, he defends that ground. And I presented a little bit differently yesterday because we talked after the ball game, remember? And it was like, dude, he had to be frustrated. And then it just blew up in that moment with everything that had transpired already in the game. That's why I posed the question the way I did. Like, where were you mentally, before that happened?
Yeah.
And he said the thing yesterday, like, this is something that's, and I know we're about out of time. We'll certainly come back to this down the road, but like pertaining to that moment, like he defended the moment. He thought he was right. He's not backing down from it. I told Brett Bielema what I thought. I still will say that. Oh, by the way, you played through the whistle.
Yep.
Thank you get that. There's a reason why when families come visit South Carolina and they meet Shane Beamer, there's a reason why they all like him because you get that. It's just authentic.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we know it all happened leading up to that moment. And I already told you after the bowl game, I'm all for Shane Bieber, like getting after it. I would have been the same way. I mean, you come over there and taunt my sideline. And like I said a couple weeks ago, if you have a problem with it, Brett, you go talk to the refs. Don't come over here and start talking shit. I mean, that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought Beamer did the right thing, and I think it was more so like to get the team fired up, and but all the fake injuries, the holding calls, the everything that kind of went on. The God, I hope they do something about the substitution rule during the off season. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of all built up, and then Bielema taunting our sideline was not cool. Very, very JV.
I think it showed the difference in these two guys. Brett Bielema came up with some bogus safety explanation, and Shane Beamer's like, huh? Your guys were dropping all over the field with, quote, injuries. If they were that hurt, why are you running them back in the game the next play?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Agreed.
Does Carolina pick up their first win of the conference season tomorrow night? A blackout at Colonial Life Arena. Sorry, man.
I mean, good Lord, man. Can we, if we don't turn the ball over, yeah, we can win. We can win, but if we have another 13, 14, 15, 16, 25 turnovers, no, we won't win. We won't win.
Limit the turnovers. Hopefully the students will be out of school tomorrow. Hopefully they're pre-gaming all day. It'll be a blackout. Hopefully it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I hope the crowd shows up. I mean, I know it sucks to be 0-5 in the conference play, but I mean, just show up, have a good time. I mean, cheer the guys on.
A lot to play for, always, no doubt.
Yep.
John, always glad to see you, man. Thanks for your time today, and hope those ships get where they're going down there in the Gulf of America.
Yeah, me too.
See you, brother.
All right, see y'all.
All right, that wraps us here on Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show, powered by Electric Bikes of Charleston and brought to you by Resto Pros and the Barndo Co. Reminder right now, switch over and you can get the show with JC and Mad Dog.